Welcome to GCCars. My name is Eric.
And I'm Jesse.
And this is the battle of the 7-seaters. So this is the all-new 2024 Mazda CX-90, the new challenger in the midsize SUV segment.
Challenger meet class leader, because here we have the fully refreshed 2023 Telluride X Pro.
Well, we'll see who's the class leader at the end of this comparison test. And as always, to compare these two midsize SUVs, we're going to take a look at the exterior first, then we're going to take a look at the interior, comparing them, and in the end, we're going to drive them. And that's noteworthy because my one criticism about all the Mazdas, I love them, was the drivetrain. It was just outdated, bad, it just wasn't competitive. But now we got the all-new inline 6 and 8-speed automatic in this CX-90.
Challenger has no excuses.
Oh, this is gonna be a good battle. But I would say we start off with the exterior first.
Yes.
Let's start talking about the refreshed
Start off with the
Telluride.
leader, the numero uno.
For now. It looks, I love it. I love it.
You
honestly.
love it? I was more conflicted when I first saw the vehicle. I think, based on personal experience, that this vehicle is more of a love-hate with regards to the design with people I've talked to.
I can see that. I'm just always a big fan of like boxy, brawny, and kind of edgy SUVs. And this, especially with the new X Pro, like the new top trim with the all-terrain tires, I think this just looks fantastic in the all-new jungle green color. Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the color. I do wish they would have thrown more of a matte accent on top, because it's
that would look mean.
Brawny and off-roady. You want matte. You want more. You know,
yeah, a little more stealthy.
Yeah.
I see that. But you know, that looks great.
But this is something else.
That is just gorgeous. That is just, I always liked Mazdas, but this new design language is just absolutely stunning. Like, this car has not a single bad angle.
Yeah, it's anyone who has a problem with the way this car looks has a problem with me. So
I join in on that, honestly. So we also got the new color, which is artesian red metallic. I'm a big proponent of soul crystal red, Mazda's iconic color, but this honestly works even better.
It works. I love this
It works
color.
really well. I know you don't like chrome accents. I just think everything works so well. We got the 21-inch wheels, which I'm gonna complain about in a bit, but for now they look very nice.
They do.
The side profile, like everything about this CX-90 is just absolutely gorgeous.
It's classic Mazda, but taken up a notch.
Exactly. It's really like, that's what the CX-90 really is, right? It's a step up. It's a step from premium more towards luxury. And even the rear end is just, yeah, I'm a big fan. But should we take a look at the interior?
Yeah, let's go in.
You go hop in the Telluride,
Yep.
I hop in the CX-90.
You slum it in your CX-90.
Alrighty, so interior time with the CX-90 and Telluride, and why don't we start off with the class leader?
Well, I mean, it looks like a class leader. We got this really nice monolithic screen here, beautifully stitched seats that are actually quite comfortable. There's very few hard plastics in here, maybe a little bit on the door here. We got all the tech you could ask for in this car. There's cameras everywhere.
Okay, that's actually true. You even have the rear view mirror camera, which is like, that's literally one of the best features in cars these days.
We got turn signal cameras. There's
Yeah,
like
it's
5
actually
different parking sensors.
It's really nice. It's really nice. But you know what? If I look at the trim and if I start, you know, putting my hands on some of the materials in there, I think you should actually come over and see the Challenger.
You're gonna make me slum it with you?
Hop on in, and I'll show you
right.
what a really nice interior looks like.
I'll take a step down for a second. It's only for you, Eric.
Alrighty, welcome to a premium interior.
Is that what you call it?
That's what I call this. Look, the Telluride is nice. I like it a lot. But once you start looking at the materials, once you start actually touching this interior, you will notice that this is one step above what the Telluride delivers.
So, I agree with you. Like this here,
This way.
this way feels really nice. I do worry about touching this with like even a remotely greasy hand.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. This is definitely an interior where you have to be a little more careful about, like, you know, getting stains on the stuff. Even with the seats too, we have this kind of like suede leather with napper mixed. But that's kind of what comes with luxury. That comes with a luxury where you just have to be a little bit more mindful of those kinds of things. But first of all, if you get the white interior, this suede won't be suede. You have like cloth, and then you have a different kind of wood, and the suede also goes around. Like this, especially the door panel. Compared to the Telluride, it's just no competition. Like
mine is opening and closing it, but that's a different story.
you have so much, like the leather is just ridiculously soft. You can literally squish the whole thing.
That is really soft.
And then we have the suede, which feels so nice. The steering wheel is absolutely gorgeous. I'm a big fan of this interior.
We got a nice new, like you said, all new gauge cluster
Exactly,
here.
we have an all new gauge cluster. So Mazda's always had kind of like a screen in the middle of an analog gauge. This is all new, all digital. It is extremely crisp, very responsive. If you switch to your drive, like kind of adaptive cruise control, it'll switch to a different mode. It's very cool.
But there are two things I'm going to disagree with you on here with
Okay.
regards to the upscale interior.
Okay.
First of all, the center stack, a little bit plasticky.
Okay, but comparing it to the Telluride is just as plasticky, it's just piano black.
Yeah, a little bit of a dinky shifter here. That's just me.
I don't know, I don't mind it. But
and
number two.
Number two, first of all, the whole tablet design is kind of outdated. Most cars are moving to either a monolithic or a more integrated screen.
I don't mind it, it's easier to see, but
And number two, the resolution, which we both
yeah, so
agree
this
on.
screen, this center screen, which is funny, normally Mazda doesn't have an issue with center screens. This one might be a little bigger, but it looks like whatever is rendered on there is rendered in a lower resolution and upscale. It looks weird. It just doesn't, there's no clarity or sharpness in this. Like it's usable,
It's just
it just doesn't look great.
I want to give Mazda the benefit of the doubt and assume this is like a defect because
Yeah,
that's how bad it is.
Yeah, so something's weird about this, especially compared to the like crystal sharp display in the Telluride.
Look at like the icons here. They don't look. This looks
They
like
don't even look round. They're just kind of like.
it's not.
So yeah, it's admittedly okay. So if you like tech, yes, Telluride. Materials, craftsmanship, quality, CX-90 like every day for me. And I like the center console that did split. So you know you instinctively took it for arm so I can open it, but you
Yeah.
don't even need to do it.
True.
Because I can open one side, I can do both. This is really nice, and both of them do though. If you can't start moving slowly to the back, have sunroofs. This one has a panoramic sunroof.
That one has two sunroofs.
You have two sunroofs, but only the front one opens, right?
Yeah.
I mean, not like the whole roof opens,
Right.
like this, but just the difference. And moving back to the second row, I think it's honestly kind of a toss-up there.
It's a wash.
Yeah, it's pretty like the materials maybe once again a little nicer from the CX-90 because we have the same suede.
And I think it maybe pulls ahead an inch because of this.
This honestly, the center console is really nice.
Yeah.
Like having a center console with some trays and even a storage down in here. Like it is very useful. It is very nice to use.
Heated, ventilated, two
both.
USB-Cs
Exactly.
in both cars.
Yeah, so honestly, like I wouldn't mind riding in the second rows of any of these.
I agree.
Now, if we move over to the third row, though, is where we get a little bit more. So I'm just going to throw back real quick to my CX-9 review. I'm just going to keep it short. So I reviewed the CX-9, basically the predecessor of the CX-90 last year, and I really liked it. Just as usual, the Mazda is always kind of a step up. Like this is even nicer than the CX-9. But the problem with the CX-9 was it didn't have anything to stand out because it was it wasn't practical. There was much more storage than in the CX-5. The third row wasn't really usable, so why would you ever bother? Even if you get the same engines, it's like a CX-5 just stretched and not really for good reasons. This has more storage than the CX-9. This has a better third row than the CX-9, but it is still not close to Telluride. Not even Pilot. Pilot is also really good.
Pilot had a
Traverse
nice
is
one.
really good. This is still the low point for the Mazda midsize SUVs. They're just not as practical.
The Telluride's a little bit more comfortable. I could see myself sitting. Obviously, it's not made for adults, right?
Yeah.
But I could see myself sitting in the Telluride for a couple hours.
Yeah, this is already like I could do probably an hour, but after half an hour I would probably start being a little uncomfortable. The material, like the seats themselves are really nice.
Yep.
They're very comfy.
They are.
It's just you don't have as much like leg room.
And it
Really.
feels-
The leg room is the biggest issue.
it
You're
feels
a
higher
little
up.
high. Exactly. The window you have on the side is kind of tiny because it slopes down a little more. So third row space not quite as good, and that does carry on to the trunk, which I think mostly though is due to the shape because the Telluride is very
Yes.
upright. And I think the depth is pretty similar behind the third row. It's just
It's almost like a Sportback angle.
yeah, exactly. With the CX-90, you do lose out a little bit on that edge, on the top edge, really. So, yeah. Oh, and also, Telluride second row seats can be put down
With the button.
with the button, which is quite nice.
It's nice and convenient.
So, Telluride, a little more practical, a little more techy, a lot more techy. But if you value craftsmanship and quality, the CX-9 has no competitor in the segment. 90, CX-90.
Get it right, Eric.
Not to be confused with the Volvo XC90, which is also very similarly named. So there's a CX-9, CX-90, XC90. So,
A
anyhow,
lot of 90s.
a lot of 90s. Should we go driving?
That's the fun part. Let's do it. Out on the road in the Telluride X Pro.
Yeah.
We're going to do a little acceleration test.
Yeah, we're going to compare it, and then we're going to jump into the CX-90 and see which one goes better. So,
All right. Without further ado, let's...
sport mode.
Of course. How can I forget that? All right. There's a little brake torque.
Yep. Oh, okay. That's a little tire squeal. There we go. Ain't bad. That ain't bad.
Not too bad at all.
Eventually, you kind of start feeling a little bit of the weight, but honestly, totally fine. So we got a 3.8 liter naturally aspirated V6 producing 292 horsepower and 291 horsepower.
291, 262. 8-speed transmission.
8-speed transmission, and it's good for about 6.8 seconds to 100 kilometers an hour.
It's got more than enough pickup.
Oh, it's got plenty of pickup. But I think let's do one more stint maybe out of here, just to calibrate our senses here.
Let's go.
It's good.
Yes.
And let's jump into the CX-90.
Let's do it.
Alrighty, so it's time for the CX-90. All new engine, all new drivetrain. Let's see how quick this SUV accelerates. Brake, torque, traction control of sport mode.
Okay.
Yeah, that pulls harder. That pulls harder.
Oh yeah.
And it sounds very interesting.
Sounds nice.
Sounds like almost supercharged.
It does. It does.
So, manual shifting right now. Because why not? We can
With
do
that
it.
new 8-speed.
The all-new 8-speed. Yeah, so we have that was the big thing, right, about the CX-90. What I
3.3
complained
liter.
about the CX-90. We have the all-new engine, so it's turbocharged 3.3 liter inline 6, producing 340 horsepower and 369, nice, pound-feet of torque. Oh, I shifted too late, that was my bad. There we go. And it is very nice. We have
It's also a mild hybrid.
It's a mild hybrid, and we have an all-new 8-speed automatic. And I'll tell you, I'm such a big fan of this. I am such a big fan of this new drivetrain. It's kind of this missing piece that Mazda was missing the whole time. First of all, the engine, very smooth, plenty of power. It sounds good. It
does sound
pulls
good.
nicely. I love this. The fuel economy is just stupid. So of course we're idling for like 5 hours right now, but pre-idling, well, what did you have in the Telluride?
I believe I averaged, so I drove it for a week, 450 or 500 kilometers. I think I averaged about 12.7, mainly in eco mode, to be honest.
12.7 mainly in eco. I drove in normal mode, sometimes a bit of sporty driving, 9.5.
Yeah.
9.5 liters, which is ridiculous. We've looked at all the other midsize SUVs we drove. The closest was 10.7 in the CX-9. So nothing comes close to how fuel efficient this is, and at the same time, it's such a great engine.
And keep in mind, this has what, 60 horsepower more than the Telluride?
Yeah, true.
About 60 horsepower.
So it's more fuel efficient.
And it's heavier.
It's heavier, quite a bit, like 400 pounds heavier. It is faster and more fuel efficient.
Yep.
That's just amazing.
To be exact, there's about 50 horsepower and almost 100 foot-pounds of torque more.
You feel that.
Yeah.
Speaking of feeling, handling test, sport mode. Oh, birdie.
Oh, wow.
Oh, okay. I probably should have turned off traction control to get a bit more dynamics out of that because it bogged down. But very good turn in, slight rotation, and then it bogged down a little. If we turn off traction control, it would have kind of slid us out there because this is now rear-wheel drive bias too. I'm excited for this CX-90 and how it drives because it is so nice to
I feel
drive.
like we need to redo that without traction control.
No, because I don't want to crash. So this engine and drivetrain is a little, you kind of need to get used to it because it feels unrefined at first. Well, the shifting sometimes feels a little weird, but what I just noticed is because it's a mild hybrid, the start-stop is just way more aggressive. So I've had this literally turn off the engine at 60. You know, you come to a slow stop, a little bit on the brake, and it'll be like, okay, you're stopping, so I'll turn off the engine. So then when you want to have a bit of power again, it needs to start the engine for a second.
Delay.
Yeah, so at first I thought, oh, the transmission is slow, but it's just a very aggressive start and stop, which probably works very well.
And that's something you can turn off?
And that's something you can turn off. You have
So.
your button right here. But do you want to get behind the wheel?
I do. Let's just put it in smart mode because why not?
I have height adjustable seats. Honda and shambles.
There you go. Yeah, Honda's definitely in shambles.
And that's where you notice, it's holding the gears. And that's where you notice that I pay for the gas, not heat. But yeah, so this drives just so well. I mean, Mazda is always proud of the fact that Mazdas drive better than the competition, and it's just, once again, especially with the CX-90, absolutely the case. The Telluride is it's very smooth to drive. Like the transmission and engine, I liked it.
That's the number one thing that I liked while I was driving it, especially in Toronto. The roads are terrible. We've been over this. It handles the bumps with ease.
It handles the bumps with ease. It's effortless. The steering is 100% dead.
It's
but
numb.
It's easy.
But yes, numb but
It is easy. And this just gives you, like, you feel a lot more what the car does with the CX-90 at the limit. You feel there is feedback through the steering wheel. I don't like the on-center feel. It's a little numb on center, I think. It's not super precise, but I mean, it's a midsize SUV. It's not a Miata. Coming up, by the way, Miata. But no, this drives fantastically. But you already mentioned one thing that is a bit of a drawback of the CX-90 and of this engagement, which is the suspension justice.
It's a bit rough.
It's a bit rough, and I'm willing to make some sacrifices for, you know, it's more engaging, but especially with the 21-inch wheels, and you can't get any other ones in here. It's just, yeah.
I think a vehicle like this, I would be looking less for engagement and more for comfort. It's a family vehicle. You don't want the bumps.
I'm the so the hypothetical person is me in maybe 20 years. I don't know. No, 20 years. I'm too old. Anyhow, me in some years is, you know, I'm really cool. So I obviously would drive a Camaro or Mustang, right? That's how I roll. So you see, like, eventually you might want to start a family, and you don't have the money for 2 cars, so you got to get more room. But maybe the compromise is, okay, we're gonna get some more usable, but at the same time, I do want to have fun driving. I want to be able to, you know, do that and shift and hit a back road. And that's where the CX-90 comes in. For people like me who we're looking for the engagement, we don't care too much about the tech, and we want to have, you know, this beautiful interior. We want to have the engagement, the fun driving experience. But yeah, the Telluride is just, especially with the tech in the Telluride is great.
It's a good package. It really is a nice package.
It is a great package. You have, you know, lane centering, which this one also has, finally. So Mazda always was like, okay,
I can test that now, actually. So if I veer off, the car knocks me back into the center.
Exactly, it bounces you back.
But I said to you earlier, it kind of ping pongs you.
Yeah, it's not, so you do have, this is just a lane key,
right,
and then you have the lane centering, but it's coupled to cruise control. Unlike in the Kia, where you can just activate it and it'll, you know, drive you around. This is coupled to a cruise control, but it's better than anything Mazda had before. So honestly, I'm super happy that I finally have it. It's way better. And yeah, I mean, listen, tech-wise, go Telluride. That's, I think, the whole conclusion here. So, well, also one thing, noise. This is quieter, especially on the highway, and it doesn't help that the X Pro has the all-terrain tires,
yeah,
which gives you extra road noise, but the wind noise already is louder. So, yes, this is. I don't think there's a question that this is more refined, is there?
No, I don't think there is.
Okay.
So before we go over which one we like better,
yes,
there's a few key points we should hash out. The differences, right? So we got a $900 difference. This is $900 more expensive.
Yeah, so this is as spec $65,745
right,
Canadian, while the Telluride is $64,845 Canadian. You do have to include in that, though, is that the Telluride, if you don't get the X Pro, you get the X-Line. Essentially, all you're losing is a few accents and the all-terrain tires, and you're already another $1.5 grand cheaper.
Okay.
But
so it's almost $2,000.
Yes, but if we're talking hypotheticals, if you don't care too much about the engagement, you can get this as a plug-in hybrid for another $1.2 grand more. But depending on when you watch the video and where you watch this, you might get incentives that lower the price, and then you have something that Kia cannot offer, a plug-in hybrid that is still like 350 horsepower still.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be so extremely fuel efficient. So just keeping hypotheticals in mind. But yes, this is as spec $900 more as a 2024 model.
So you got the price to factor in, you got fuel mileage, which we already know.
Taking premium fuel.
This takes premium fuel, right?
You can put in regular, you lose a bit of horsepower, and presumably a little bit of fuel economy. So let's just call it almost even a slight advantage for the CX-9 on that.
Unless you go for the hybrid.
Unless you go for the hybrid, where you just like Kia's out of
which those are wrench.
Yeah,
right?
and Honda doesn't offer that, Kia doesn't offer that, Hyundai doesn't offer that. And
so you got price, you got fuel efficiency, and you got the drivetrain.
Which are the main differences here. And let's say practicalities on the Telluride side.
Sure.
Okay, are we ready to say which one we like more?
As an overall package, which one would I buy? 3, 2, 1.
CX-9.
Mazda. Yeah.
Okay, woo! Congratulations, Mazda won this one.
I hate to say it, it's just for me, you got the fuel efficiency, you got the better drivetrain, you've got, in my opinion, a sharper looking exterior. For me, the downside of this is the infotainment.
Yes.
I don't like it, I think it's crap.
I agree.
And a little bit of lack of tech.
Right. I don't think it's crap. I don't care too much about the tech. It's usable for me.
The resolution kills me.
The resolution is pretty, yeah, it's pretty annoying.
For 2024.
But the driving experience is just so much better. So, okay, if you don't care about driving, take the Telluride. It's more practical, it's more techy. Unless you drive in the city all the time. And get the plug-in hybrid.
Practical
CX-90.
regarding space, not regarding
Yes,
fuel
regarding
efficiency.
space, not for fuel efficiency. The Telluride is the perfect car, I think, for people who, you know, they just need a great car to go from A to B. And like, they want a bit of excitement, right? It's not at like pilot level of NPC car.
It still has nice power.
A nice power, it looks great.
It's like I drove it to Hamilton yesterday. It was an hour drive. I put on the lane assist. I put on the adaptive cruise control. I sat back and I was relaxed.
Exactly. But if you want to have that a little bit more,
And let's be honest, Mazda has a little bit of a better brand recognition.
yes, this is premium, and this is premium Mazda stepping up even more.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to throw in one more thing though before we say that this is so we agree this is better than the Telluride for us
as an overall package.
Palisade is really good, and it's
cheaper.
$6,000 less. For some reason, I imagine the Palisade will get more expensive very soon. But for right now, the Palisade was sub 60, which is quite convincing.
It is.
Would I be willing to spend $5,000-$6,000 more for this?
If it depends
Yes.
on if
But
brand power matters to you.
Brand power matters to you, and at that point, you really got to look for that engagement in the driving experience, or you want to go for the plug-in hybrid, which eventually I think we got to test that one too, because that sounds very tempting.
It almost comes down to Palisade versus this, to be honest with you. Like the Telluride's stuck in a weird spot.
Because for the price, that's why
Yeah.
I'm like, because that's the weird thing. The Telluride and the Palisade are essentially the same car. That there's such a stark difference in price is weird, and that's why I imagine it will step up.
Mm-hmm.
But Telluride, Palisade, same price. Which one do you take? Telluride.
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 Yeah, Telluride.
Okay, so just jumping to conclusions here, saying okay, Palisade will get more expensive. All three within a couple of grand, let's say like that. CX-90 for me.
Especially the hybrid.
Especially the hybrid. Anyhow, I think that concludes our very first comparison test. That was a lot of fun. More to come. And thank you so much for watching. Let us know which one you would choose, right? Are you Team Telluride or Team CX-90? And we'll see you
in the next video. We drop a video every single week.
So like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.
Peace.